Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel, Reading to Fluency, a channel all about learning a language through the act of reading. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about Pokemon and language learning. Now, there's a good reason for this. One of the things that I've been doing, or a couple of things that I've been doing, is that I've been watching Pokemon in Spanish on Netflix with the Spanish subtitles, as well as I've been playing the Pokemon games on my DS in Spanish. Now, I just kind of wanted to do a quick video about kind of how I'm using those and how to use those, like if that's something that people are interested in, because I know that it can be hard to find a good motivating language learning method. And so I just kind of wanted to show this, give this to people and just, see if it works for anybody else as well. And also kind of talk about how I'm going to kind of start using it differently for myself. So Pokemon is really, really good because it's been around for long enough, like the show and the games have been around for long enough, and they are so mainstream that it's actually really hard to find somebody who doesn't know what Pokemon is, or even people who have seen the show or played the games. And so because of its widespread popularity, it became it has become really easy to use this. So when I'm watching Pokemon, like I said, I have the subtitles going. And the cool thing about the subtitles for Pokemon that are in Spanish is that normally when you see a show on Netflix and you have, say, The Dragon Prince, which is one of my favorites, and I switch it from English into Spanish. If I were to then turn on Spanish subtitles as opposed to English, most of the time this is what happens. Whatever you're hearing in Spanish is not necessarily what would be written in Spanish in the subtitles. And that's because most of the time they wouldn't take the company that did the subtitles, or that made the show maybe, they would not take the time or want to spend the extra money to actually have somebody go in and write closed captions for it, so essentially a transcript for it that is exactly what's written down. Instead, they would just get a translator to come in, and which I don't know why they don't, because I feel like a translator would be more expensive, but they get a translator to come in and just translate whatever is in English into Spanish. And so it makes for differently formed sentences. It makes for completely different sentences in some cases. And it just makes things a little confusing. And actually, now that I think about it, I know why they do this. Is because when the English audio was the only one available, the English or the Japanese maybe, were the only audio available, they just had to have translated versions of the subtitles so that people of a Spanish-speaking or French-speaking or German-speaking country or whatever could still enjoy the show and be able to understand what was going on. Whereas Pokemon has the closed captions, which is really, really nice because it makes things so much easier. You can actually see what's going on the screen, and that's why I use this for my reading, is that while I'm watching, I'm reading or attempting to read all of these subtitles. Especially depending on when I'm watching it. Like if I'm watching it at work, like right now, we have to have somebody at the door every day, or every night once the employees for the daytime start coming in, so that we can check them in and do their temperature and everything, since the pandemic is still kind of going on. So, and I'm one of the people that has been asked to do that sometimes, which means that I sit at that table and just do nothing for upwards of, I think the longest I was there was almost 3.5 hours. Not quite. It was about 3 hours and 10 minutes. And so that's a long time to just be sitting at that door. And so I utilize that time and I watch a show on Netflix in Spanish. So, nobody's said that I'm in trouble for it yet, so, why not? But the really good thing about, also about Pokemon is that with the Pokemon games, is that especially the older games, there's a lot of text in them. They're very text-based. There's a lot of things that are being said. There's a lot of text scrolling across the screen, and especially with the older ones, it pauses in between what it's saying, and you have to click the A button in order to cycle past that. And so what I've been doing is just trying to make myself read everything that's on the screen, no matter what, even if I've read it before. And I've also been trying to force myself to go into every single house in every single town and talk to every single person along the way, just so I can get more and more reading, more and more exposure. Now there have been times where I just get so into it that I've just been playing the game because I know what's happening, I know where I'm going, I know exactly what I need to do. So I kind of have to slow myself down a little bit and be like, okay, no, I'm not just playing this, I'm using this to practice Spanish. But there's one thing that I'm going to do differently with it, and that is that I'm not just going to run around playing this game and reading all the text. I have gotten a notebook that I am going to start, because mostly I play this while I'm at work, maybe a little bit when I get home from work. And what I'm going to start doing is taking that notebook and having it sitting next to me while I'm playing. And what I'm going to do is literally especially ones that I don't understand, but I'm going to write down most sentences, if not all, most of the sentences that come across. Because I feel like that'll get me a little more practice. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to write those down in the notebook. And then I'm not going to do anything with them at that point. I'm going to wait and I'm going to collect the sentences throughout the week. And then on my days off, which is when the bulk of my studying is being done at this point, once I get to that point, then part of my studying for that weekend is going to be to translate those sentences so that I know exactly what they say. And once those are translated, then I can look at those and be like, okay, here's what it says. Then when I come across those again, which probably happen, or even some of those same words in different contexts, just like in a book, I will then know what it's saying, and I'll be able to figure out some of the other words. So, and I'm also planning on, much like rereading a chapter, I'm also planning on replaying the Pokemon game once I finish it. I'm just pretty much going to immediately start over again and play it from the beginning. And so, like, one thing I suggest for people, if you're doing this, because I do feel like this is actually a really good way to use kind of the story learning method, the reading method, and just make it more fun for yourself, is just to use it with video games. And one of the nice things about Pokemon is that you have a lot of replayability. You can play Pokemon in different ways. Yes, the same things are happening, you're following the same story, you're doing kind of the same things, but you can do things like you can change up the type of Pokemon that you're raising. You can get a different starter Pokemon. You can do all sorts of different things in like your battle strategy and different things and see how things work. And so like right now I'm going through Pokemon Crystal with solely a water Pokemon team, which I've never done before. I don't necessarily like water Pokemon all that much. There's a few of them that I like, but for the most part, I'm a dragon trainer. I like training the dragons. Dragons and fire types, for the most part. And so this has been really interesting and challenging for me, because my team consists of nothing but I have a Totodile, a Psyduck, technically two Psyducks, a Poliwag, a Quagsire, and a Tentacool that I just caught. And so like that's what I'm going through this game with. And then when I go through it again, I'll go through with like maybe a fire team, then the next time I'll do a grass team, and then the next time maybe I'll do a psychic team or a fighting team or something like that. And it just gives it replayability so that I can keep going through it and keep entertained and still be getting that exposure. And I'm re-exposing myself to that same vocabulary again. And so it creates a kind of a natural spaced repetition system, which is kind of how the idea of reading for language learning works. So yeah, and this doesn't have to be just with Pokemon. If you want to use something like this, you can use it with different games. Like Animal Crossing is a really good one, and I've actually found quite a few people on YouTube and on Facebook and different places that are using Animal Crossing as a way to either practice or straight up study a different language. They just change the settings in their Switch so that their default language is Spanish or German or French or whatever, and they just read the text and play the game in that language. And I actually really, really enjoy this because it's a more engaging way of language learning without just trying to gamify the learning process itself. Because I feel like gamifying the learning process, like they do with the apps and stuff, doesn't necessarily work the way that they think it will, or the way that they want it to. So I really think that doing things like that, playing video games, playing Pokemon and stuff like that, I think is a really good way to do it. So anyway, yeah, that's how I am doing it right now. That's how I'm going to use Pokemon to study here now from this point on, to help study from this point on, because it's not the only thing I'm doing. So but anyway, I hope this helps some of you, maybe gives you a more entertaining way of learning a language, and maybe gets you back into it, gets you remotivated to do it. Because I know from experience that you kind of need some remotivation every once in a while, sometimes a lot, like me, but that's okay. So that is it for me for today. So thank you all for joining me, and I will see you all next time.